BPD versus bipolar. What's the difference? Hi everyone, and welcome back to our channel. We're grateful to have you here with us for another video. If you find this content helpful, please tap the like button and consider subscribing. Your support means a lot and helps us reach more people. Borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder are two mental health conditions that people often confuse with each other. Both involve intense emotions and mood changes, but they're actually quite different in how they work, what causes them, and how they're treated. Let's start with the basics. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is a personality disorder that affects how someone thinks about themselves and relates to others. It usually starts showing up in early adulthood and involves patterns of unstable relationships, self-image, and emotions. The key thing about BPD is that it's primarily about how someone interacts with the world and other people. Bipolar disorder, on the other hand, is a mood disorder. It's characterized by extreme shifts between manic or hypomanic episodes and depressive episodes. These aren't just regular mood swings that everyone experiences. We're talking about distinct periods that can last days, weeks, or even months where someone's mood, energy, and behavior are significantly different from their normal state. The confusion happens because both conditions involve intense emotions and what might look like mood swings. But the nature of these emotional changes is actually very different. In BPD, emotional reactions are typically triggered by interpersonal situations. Someone with BPD might feel completely fine in the morning, but then have an intense emotional reaction to something their friend said, leading to feelings of abandonment, anger, or despair that can last for hours or days. With bipolar disorder, the mood episodes aren't necessarily triggered by external events. Someone might wake up in a manic state and stay that way for weeks, regardless of what's happening in their life. During a manic episode, they might feel euphoric, have racing thoughts, need very little sleep, and engage in risky behaviors. Then they might shift into a depressive episode where they feel hopeless, have no energy, and struggle to get out of bed. The timeline is another major difference. BPD emotional episodes typically last hours to days and can change rapidly throughout a single day. Someone with BPD might cycle through multiple intense emotional states in one day. Bipolar episodes are longer. A manic episode needs to last at least 1 week, or any duration if hospitalization is required. Hypomanic episodes last at least 4 days. Depressive episodes typically last at least 2 weeks. Let's talk about what these conditions actually look like in daily life. Someone with BPD might have a pattern of intense, unstable relationships. They might idealize someone one day, thinking they're perfect, and then feel completely betrayed by that same person the next day over something relatively minor. This isn't manipulation or being dramatic. It's how their brain processes relationships and emotions. People with BPD often have a deep fear of abandonment, whether real or imagined. They might go to extreme lengths to avoid being left alone, but paradoxically, their intense reactions might push people away. They might have an unstable sense of who they are, with their values, goals, and even their sense of identity shifting depending on who they're with or what situation they're in. Self-harm behaviors are common in BPD, not necessarily because someone wants to die, but because physical pain can sometimes feel more manageable than emotional pain. There's often chronic feelings of emptiness, like something is fundamentally missing inside. Bipolar disorder looks different. During a manic episode, someone might feel like they're on top of the world. They might start multiple projects, spend money they don't have, talk rapidly, and feel like they need very little sleep. They might have grandiose ideas about themselves or unrealistic plans. This isn't just being in a good mood. It's a distinct change in their normal functioning that others around them notice. During a depressive episode, it's not just feeling sad. It's a persistent low mood that affects every aspect of life. They might have trouble concentrating, feel worthless, have changes in appetite and sleep, and lose interest in activities they normally enjoy. Some people with bipolar disorder also experience psychotic symptoms during severe episodes, like hearing voices or having delusions. The causes of these conditions are different too. BPD is thought to develop from a combination of genetic predisposition and environmental factors, particularly trauma or invalidating environments during childhood. This might include emotional neglect, abuse, or growing up in a family where emotions weren't acknowledged or were dismissed. Bipolar disorder has a stronger genetic component. If you have a family member with bipolar disorder, you're more likely to develop it yourself. While environmental factors can trigger episodes, the underlying condition seems to be more biologically based. Diagnosis is complicated for both conditions, but for different reasons. BPD is diagnosed based on patterns of behavior and thinking that typically emerge by early adulthood. Mental health professionals look for specific criteria, like frantic efforts to avoid abandonment, unstable relationships, identity disturbance, impulsivity, suicidal behaviors, emotional instability, chronic emptiness, and intense anger. Bipolar disorder is diagnosed based on the presence of distinct mood episodes. For bipolar I, you need to have had at least one manic episode. For bipolar II, you need hypomanic episodes and major depressive episodes, but no full manic episodes. There's also cyclothymic disorder, which involves less severe but more chronic mood swings. The challenge is that these conditions can co-occur. Someone can have both BPD and bipolar disorder, which makes diagnosis and treatment more complex. Additionally, other conditions like ADHD, anxiety disorders, or substance use disorders can complicate the picture. Treatment approaches are different for each condition. BPD is primarily treated with psychotherapy. Dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, was specifically developed for BPD and focuses on teaching skills for managing emotions, improving relationships, and tolerating distress. Other therapies like schema therapy or mentalization-based therapy can also be helpful. Medication isn't the primary treatment for BPD, but it might be used to address specific symptoms like depression or anxiety. The core issues of BPD, the relationship patterns and emotional regulation problems, are best addressed through therapy. Bipolar disorder treatment typically involves medication as a primary component. Mood stabilizers like lithium or anticonvulsants are commonly used to prevent mood episodes. Antipsychotics might be used during acute episodes. Therapy is also important, particularly to help with medication adherence, recognizing early warning signs of episodes, and developing coping strategies. The prognosis for both conditions can be positive with proper treatment, but the path looks different. People with BPD often show significant improvement with therapy, particularly DBT. Many people with BPD go on to have stable relationships and successful careers. The key is learning new ways of thinking about themselves and relating to others. For bipolar disorder, the focus is often on managing the condition long-term. With proper medication and therapy, many people with bipolar disorder live full, productive lives. The key is understanding that it's a lifelong condition that requires ongoing management, similar to diabetes or other chronic medical conditions. Let's address some common misconceptions. People with BPD aren't manipulative or attention-seeking. Their behaviors make sense when you understand the intense emotional pain they're experiencing and their fear of abandonment. They're not choosing to be difficult. Their brains literally process emotions and relationships differently. People with bipolar disorder aren't just moody or unpredictable. The mood episodes are distinct changes from their normal functioning, not personality traits. They can't just snap out of it or think themselves better. Both conditions are real medical conditions, not character flaws or weaknesses. They're not caused by bad parenting alone, although family dynamics can play a role. And having either condition doesn't mean someone is dangerous or incapable of having healthy relationships. It's important to understand that both conditions affect people differently. Two people with BPD might have very different experiences and symptoms. The same is true for bipolar disorder. Mental health conditions exist on a spectrum, and individual experiences vary widely. The stigma around both conditions can be significant. People with BPD are often labeled as difficult or toxic, which prevents them from getting the help they need. People with bipolar disorder might be seen as unpredictable or dangerous, which isn't accurate for the vast majority of people with the condition. Early intervention makes a big difference for both conditions. The sooner someone gets an accurate diagnosis and appropriate treatment, the better their long-term outcomes tend to be. This is why it's important for people to seek help if they're experiencing persistent emotional difficulties. Support systems are crucial for both conditions. This includes family, friends, and mental health professionals. For BPD, having people who understand the condition and can provide consistent, non-judgmental support is particularly important. For bipolar disorder, having people who can help recognize early warning signs of episodes and provide support during difficult times is valuable. Self-care looks different for each condition. For someone with BPD, this might involve practicing DBT skills, maintaining consistent routines, and avoiding substances that might worsen emotional instability. For someone with bipolar disorder, this might involve taking medication consistently, maintaining regular sleep schedules, and monitoring mood changes. The role of lifestyle factors is important for both conditions. Regular exercise, good sleep hygiene, stress management, and avoiding alcohol and drugs can help with both BPD and bipolar disorder. However, these lifestyle changes alone aren't sufficient treatment for either condition. It's worth noting that both conditions can affect people of all backgrounds. They don't discriminate based on education, income, race, or gender, although they might be diagnosed more frequently in certain populations due to various factors including access to healthcare and cultural attitudes toward mental health. Recovery is possible for both conditions, but it looks different for each. For BPD, recovery often means learning new ways of relating to others and managing emotions. Many people with BPD report significant improvement in their quality of life after treatment. For bipolar disorder, recovery often means learning to manage the condition effectively, recognizing warning signs, and maintaining stability. The families and loved ones of people with these conditions also need support. It can be challenging to understand and respond appropriately to someone with BPD or bipolar disorder. Family therapy or support groups can be helpful for learning how to provide support without enabling unhealthy behaviors. If you think you or someone you know might have either of these conditions, it's important to seek professional help. A qualified mental health professional can provide an accurate diagnosis and develop an appropriate treatment plan. Don't try to diagnose yourself or others based on online information. Remember that having either condition doesn't define a person. People with BPD and bipolar disorder are individuals with their own strengths, talents, and potential. These conditions are part of their experience, but they don't determine their worth or their future. The field of mental health is constantly evolving, with new research and treatment approaches being developed. This gives hope for even better outcomes in the future for people with these conditions. Understanding the differences between BPD and bipolar disorder helps reduce stigma and promotes better support for people experiencing these conditions. It also helps ensure that people get the right type of help for their specific situation. Both conditions are treatable, and many people go on to live fulfilling lives. The key is getting accurate diagnosis, appropriate treatment, and ongoing support. With understanding, patience, and proper care, people with these conditions can thrive. If this message speaks to you, we'd love it if you gave this video a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribed for more meaningful content. Your support helps other people discover their path to healing. Thank you for being part of this growing community.